Welcome back, and today we're going to be getting into that technical analysis for the SPY, Qs, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, and Nvidia. And stick around for the end of this video because the VVIX is getting some very, very bearish signals that we need to pay attention to. But first, let's get into the charts. Yesterday on the SPY, we were paying attention to this new little trend here. It's just a trend that matches from the all-time high up to this point here. And we can notice we started to kind of consolidate or struggle at this point, and then we use the 9-day, and we actually see some bullishness come in today, but we fade back below this level. So at this point, we are struggling to break above this level, and that's something to pay attention to. We didn't actually get all the way up to that top side of the weekly expected move, but we did fill this gap up here. Okay, so maybe the business is done to the upside, and we're going to start to see selling come in because we're starting to look like we're about to be very quickly starting those negative trends. Let me just show you those negative trends that might be beginning. First of all, we were paying attention to all this divergence up here, and then we get that steeper divergence coming in as of now. And you can see just this little bit of selling in today actually does bring us right back down near that center line. So we're still waiting for this to cross over in negative territory at this point till we maybe lose this 50 on the hourly, right? We do still have a shot to go up and test maybe the top of our weekly expected move. So I'd look for that to the bullish side. And then to the bearish side, we would just be paying attention to maybe towards the end of the week, the bottom of the weekly expected move to get tested. And maybe we do get some kind of bounce. And then we start that negative trend with the MACD going into that negative territory. The Qs, we actually reach a little bit closer to that weekly expected move, but we do see that fading coming in. So we really want to pay attention on the daily chart if we do start to lose this 9-day moving average. And we see that 20 sitting right around that weekly expected move. So if we do get some downward pressure, we can see this 20 actually hold up. And that's a pretty important one because you notice the drop between the 20 and the 50 is a lot bigger. So if we are able to hold up at that point, you do have a good shot that, hey, maybe this actually is the end of the pullback at this point. But, and you guys know my opinion, I really think that we are going to see some dramatic selling over the next couple weeks and possibly get some kind of retest of this flag on the Qs and then head to higher levels, or even come down into lower levels, which this is the zone that I'm really paying attention to right around 357 before we see that higher low set up, right? This one here, and then we get some kind of higher low. But still the same thing stands from my previous video. I'm really just paying attention to the MACD and saying, hey, I don't really care where this thing holds up, but once it does curl back up, if we do get that pullback, really just paying attention for that curling back up in positive territory. The monthly expected moves are going to change as of, the end of Thursday. So Thursday night, I'm going to be updating my Patreon. If you want to check that out, it's down in the description. And we're going to give you the actual monthly ranges for every single stock that we cover on this channel. Now, one thing to note and why we can't, say 100% that this is the sell-off, it's going to happen tomorrow or something like that, is just because we still have consecutive, higher lows, right? We have higher low, we have higher low, we have a higher low. I mean, this one still could be considered your higher low from this point. Maybe that was just some consolidation to go higher. And we have the higher highs, right? Higher high, higher high, higher high, higher high. So we really want this level to be taken out to start that negative trend. And then we can see if we do dip below that level, do we come up and set up a lower high at that point and then come down to lower levels? That's really what I'm paying attention to. And it's just to state that we do have still a chance to come touch the top side of that weekly expected move before we maybe see some more dramatic selling come in. But because the SPY did actually fill that final gap up there, it's a good sign that we might see the negative trend in the very, very near future. We're talking about Apple because we actually have this high up here and then we have this low, right? So we made a little bit lower low, maybe started a new trend, and we're actually getting this lower high at this point. The only problem here is this isn't necessarily a lower low yet. So we really want to pay attention to that because this could be some kind of double bottoming in this area in order to go test the top of that weekly expected move for Apple. So I do give you the weekly expected move here for Apple this week. And you can notice that if we do break above these types of levels, we do have a shot to go touch, retest this high or even go to the top side of that weekly expected move. But if we do see this actually fall out and we do create a lower low at this point, and then we can start to see that trend of lower highs come into play, and maybe we actually do reach the bottom of our weekly expected move by the end of the week. Okay, Amazon, we were just talking about how wonky this price action is at this point, right around that trend between these two highs. We're struggling to break through that level at this point. And you can really see how these Bollinger Bands are getting tight. This is just the main thing I'm paying attention to on Amazon. I really want to pay attention to maybe even these moving averages. If we start to lose this 20, you can see that there would be kind of a bigger drop to go get to that 50. I'm still paying attention to this zone down here as my overall opinion. But the main thing here is you're getting some tight things with the Bollinger Bands. And so we could see an explosive move in Amazon really quick. And this is going to be something to keep in mind, this tightness of the Bollinger Bands, when we do talk about the VVIX at the end of this video. And if you do go into like a 2 hour or 1 hour, you're going to see that we are forming some wedging. So we are getting some wedging here, which usually does like to play out to the downside, but it still can play out to the upside, kind of like Tesla's consolidation, but this one actually does have a higher percentage chance to play out to the downside at this point. So we just want to pay attention. Do we get some bullishness in the day and then we see some kind of, short-lived divergence right in here? That's really what I'm kind of looking at. But it really looks like we're starting negative trends on a few other stocks here. If we go down into the 1 hour, you can see we're really right next to that negative territory. So if we do get some selling, if we break this level and maybe take out both of these, then you're going to see that bearishness really come in. We're probably heading straight for that 134.48 that I have marked off. Tesla here, I am going to give you that thumbs up. So give yourself a big pat on the back, and thank you so much if you were subscribed and found this information helpful, because we did notice that we were having this consolidation here and we were saying it could break up and break down. So we want to be patient, look for that break, and you can get a nice little trade. Now we were connecting that point between those highs up here, and look where it starts to struggle, right? We reject off of that point almost to the penny. So that is something to pay attention to. And now we really want to see what the reaction is from here. Overall, I'm really just paying attention to the bearish side for these lows in here to break, kind of start some kind of negative trend going like this down into this zone that I have marked off. That 207.42 has been good to us in the past, so I'm still going to leave it on my chart. And I believe that's where we could see some basing out, maybe even in Tesla. Very important at the end of this to mention, we were paying attention. I told you to pay attention to a 2 hour divergence, and look at that. The 2 hour divergence is actually forming as of now, but you notice it has not confirmed. So that was my big point with yesterday when talking about this 2 hour divergence. Really good to wait for this to confirm, because all you need is for this to kind of just get another hip fire reaction up, and this could extend a little bit higher, right? So we really want that to confirm before kind of getting bearish on Tesla. Nvidia, we've been talking about the levels I'm paying attention to. If you want to screenshot that, pay attention to this level. I feel like it's going to be very important. And then the other thing is, this is the one that's really started that negative trend. It really has hinted to us that it's kind of leading the market at this point. And now we're starting to see things break down a little bit lower. The thing that I'm also paying attention to, we're starting to go sideways, and we're seeing those Bollinger Bands start to, get closer and closer together, which means a big move could be coming very soon. Okay, so it's important when you do get those big moves that are, showing that we could make a big move soon, to look at those weekly ranges. All right, so it's very important to look at those weekly ranges when you expect a big move in the next week. On the hourly, we were mentioning how we were starting to kind of consolidate like this, right? We were getting some kind of falling wedge at this point, or a continuation triangle, if you want to call it that. But right now it looked like it was a little sloped. So I would call it like a falling wedge. I just said, if this does happen, we want to look for if we do create a high or a lower high at this point. But you can see we're still holding above these little moving averages on the hourly. So maybe we do get a little bit more reaction before breaking through this low, really solidifying that downward trend. But the good part here is it led the market in getting in this negative territory. You're noticing that if we do get bounces in this negative territory, if we remain down there, the trend is going to continue, and we could get down to this point of about 459.54 pretty quickly. Now, something we are seeing is yields are actually getting a pretty dang good reaction here. So the SPY was actually down by 0.07, and TLT was actually up by 1.26%. So we really want to pay attention to that. This is the 10-year, the opposite of the 10-year yield here. So this is TLT. And we do see that reaction up, and we expected some kind of reaction because we are coiling up and getting pretty tight in here. Looks like as of right now, we're going to the upside, but remember, we do get important data tomorrow, and we will get Jerome Powell talking in the morning on Friday. So we really have to pay attention to what he says, because, all of these green bars can be taken away by Jerome Powell on Friday. Now, as of this, if we do see TLT continue to head up while the SPY actually continues to break down, that is something that we will really pay attention to, because a lot of the time the bond traders are right in the direction and the actual market traders are wrong. but I don't necessarily see that as relevant. So if this does develop, if we see that difference between TLT and the SPY, then we will point that out. So do join back for that information. If you do see the signal, we will talk about it on this channel. Now we're in the VVIX, and this is really what I wanted to show you guys because I don't think I've ever seen the VVIX get this tight. It's literally almost the size of this bar, right? The blue is right underneath here. So this is the tightest I've ever seen the VVIX, and we're getting that buy signal. We're getting that crossing on the MACD. We're getting above the center line on the RSI. This is really telling us that there might be some big volatility around the corner. But right now, we at least know there is a big move in the VVIX coming. And right now, the probabilities actually are pointing to a big move to the upside, which means pretty bad things for the market. So the main takeaway from this video is we're starting to see some negative trends begin, and we really need to make some lower lows in order to really solidify those at this point. And then we really need to pay attention to the VVIX because I've never seen the Bollinger Band get that close together. And all it's telling us is we can expect an explosive move, and the probabilities are that the VVIX is going to go higher. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Liking, subscribing. You guys are always great about that stuff. I wish you guys all the luck in the world with all your trading for the rest of this week, and I hope you have a good night. Peace.